2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn dope into DFS pros.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is your DFS Army Puck Drop for Wednesday, March 6, 2019. I am your host, mdelagnis14, Matt D142 on FanDuel. And here with me today is my co-host, Mr. Robert Flynn. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt? Had a long laugh in between podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, finally we get on here and talk about a slate. Decent 4-game slate, and my internship schedule finally switched around, so we're going to have a lot more podcasts out for you guys especially before MLB season starts.
Can't wait. This 4-game slate will get us back in the groove. And we have some good slates coming up.
You know, this is actually a good 4-game slate. Like, I really like this slate. It's a perfect MME slate, I think. Cash games, it's a little riskier just because there's not really super safe goalies, and you want to pay up for a lot of the studs. But I think if you're rolling out MME in the quarters, like I know that's what I'm doing tonight.
I'm doing the same thing.
And hopefully when I get out of work at midnight, I'm winning some money.
I'm hoping for the same thing. I think most of the chalk will be on Washington and Toronto, but you're not going to get Alex Ovechkin and John Tavares in the same lineup unless you're punting everywhere else. That's why MME is perfect on a slate like this.
Yeah, I mean, 8 teams get exposure to pretty much every single one, at least one lineup with parts of every team. First up, I'll go with some injuries that we have to watch tonight. Jake Voracek is out for the Flyers. Braden Schen's, right now he's still listed as questionable, but I'm sure he's going to play. He's listed on the top line, so he'll likely be back for the Blues. Devin Shore is doubtful. Ryan Spooner is questionable, game time decision. Richie, I think, is still doubtful last I saw. Hutton for Vancouver is questionable, and Nolan Patrick is going to be a game time decision for the Flyers right after their pregame skate. So this is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so some things are going to change. We only have Braden Holtby and Brian Elliott confirmed as of now. That could change in the duration of the podcast, and we'll let you guys know. But we'll start off with goalies, and probably our top guy in Jordan Binnington tonight. He's one of my top guys. Anaheim's coming off a back-to-back last night, played late last night. St. Louis is playing great defensively. Their penalty kill is one of the best in the league at almost 96%. They're suppressing shots, and they're not allowing any shots. I think even at 9,400, he's obviously playing a 4-game slate, and he has upside to get another shutout here tonight.
Absolutely. Seems like half his wins this season have come in shutouts, or at least a third of his wins. Kid's been off to an unbelievable start, and I expect that to continue. Ducks have the lowest implied total on the slate. And like you mentioned, they're on a back-to-back. As you mentioned, most of these goals aren't safe tonight, but I'd say the safest one is Jordan Binnington.
Yeah, and after Kemper got 3 goals against him last night, people are going to be like, oh, I don't want to pay for another goalie against the Ducks. They're going to find a way to screw me over and score 3 goals. And it could happen. I mean, it's hockey. It's definitely...
Oh, absolutely.
But
Ducks could score 7. They probably won't, but they could.
Yeah, and I mean, 9,400 on FanDuel, not high for him, but he deserves that high price tag, honestly, the way he's been playing. Next guy on my list is Frederik Andersen for Toronto. Right now, still projected. I think he's going to end up getting the start, though. He's just been on an absolute roll lately. Last 5 games, he's 5-0, allowing 2 or 3 goals, it's okay when you're getting 30-plus saves every night. He hasn't scored less than 24.8 FanDuel points in the last 5 games. And against Vancouver, no one on their offense really scares me. With them reuniting their second line, I think he might be able to see a few more shots, which will just raise his ceiling and raise his floor. But the way Toronto's offense is playing right now, the shot at the win for Anderson is extremely high.
I 100% agree. Toronto's been limiting their goals, but they're 29th in the league over the last 10 games in shots allowed. And like you mentioned with Vancouver putting their second line back together, could be a lot more shots on Anderson, raising his floor and ceiling.
The one thing that I think will also raise his floor and ceiling is Toronto's penalty kill is the worst on the slate at 72%. And Vancouver's power play is horrible. It's actually the worst on the slate. But if they do get a few penalties against Toronto, I think they'll be able to get a few more shots even if they don't score. So it just sets up for another 30-save night for Anderson and 25-plus FanDuel points.
Absolutely. And looks like we're going to have all 3 of our goalies in order. My number 3 guy is Marc-Andre Fleury.
Shocker, we agree.
He's 3-3-1 with a .255 goals against and .910 save percentage over the last 3 weeks. He is the riskiest of the 3 goalies, but he also has the highest ceiling.
You know what's really interesting here, Flynn?
What's that?
Fleury's last 2 games against Vancouver and Anaheim were both shutouts. And who are the goalies that we just mentioned playing against? Vancouver and Anaheim. So these 3 are going to be my highest owned in my quarter games today, and I'll sprinkle in a couple guys that we're going to mention in a second. But another thing on Fleury, he's got a pretty good career against Calgary. He's 11-4-1 with a .927 save percentage and a 2.16 goals against average. Vegas is still playing pretty good defense. Calgary's shooting a ton, but they're not scoring all that much. I think the upside for Fleury and the way that he's been playing right now, it's hard to pass up the upside he has. And I think he's going to be probably the lowest owned out of the 3, too, because people are always scared to play goalies against Calgary. And rightfully so. They could pop off and score 4 or 5 goals, but they just haven't been doing it as consistently as they were doing earlier in the season.
Absolutely. And this very well could be a playoff preview. As we've seen in Marc-Andre Fleury's career, he thrives in these pressure-packed games. So I'm going to have a lot of exposure to Marc-Andre Fleury tonight.
Yeah, so those 3 guys we just mentioned are going to be probably our highest exposed goalies, but we did say we were going to have a couple sprinkles of a few other guys. And the first guy that I'm actually going to go to way down the price list on FanDuel is John Gibson against the Blues. You know the Blues could pop off and score a few goals. They're getting Braden Shen back on the top line, but I really like Gibson at home. I would say 90% sure he's going to start after Miller started last night. And back at home, they didn't have far to travel. St. Louis is scoring 1.73 goals in their last 10 games, and they're shooting about 30 a game, so I think Gibson does have the upside for 25 saves, and at home I think has a better shot at the win tonight, especially against the Blues team.
For sure, the only team in the league over the last 10 games that's scoring less than St. Louis is the one playing on the other end. Anaheim. Yeah,
that game is going to be virtually unowned, even on a small slate. I don't think many people are going to touch guys from that game. For me, it's mainly goalie or bust. I might sprinkle in one stack, and I'm playing 40 lineups tonight. I'll probably sprinkle in one stack of each other top lines and then just move on and focus on the other games.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you got to get a little bit of exposure. There's only 4 games. And with that being the less appealing matchup, it's going to be the lowest owned. So might as well take a couple of shots on 20 to 40 lineups.
Do you have any interest in Braden Holtby against the Flyers on the road?
Not really. I can never trust him. Philly's scoring in bunches are number 3 in the league over the last 10 games. But they're not doing anything on the defensive end. And Washington can score with the best of them.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have a couple shares of Holtby. I think he's going to get the win. Philly's allowing a ton of goals. Washington has actually only allowed 2.2 goals in their last 10 games. Philly's lines are none of their lines really scare me all that much, and we still have injury news we're waiting on with them. Their top line would be the line I have exposure to, and I'm going to have exposure to their top line. But other than that, I think Holtby still has a pretty good shot at getting a win this evening.
Exactly. I like him a lot more with Voracek out. But he's still Braden Holtby, and I hate playing him in DFS. There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah, if only Washington played a little bit better defense as good as their offense is, right?
Exactly. At least their defense over the last 10 has been middle of the pack instead of the bottom of the league where they have been.
Yeah, you're right on that one.
So maybe the defending champs are headed in the right direction.
Hey, they got to start revamping for the next postseason run.
Exactly.
All right, want to move on to centers? You got any other interesting goalie on the slate?
Can take a shot on Mike Smith if he starts. If Dave Riddick draws the start, then I want nothing to do with him.
All right, let's move on to centers and
Everyone else is a dumpster fire after that.
basically. All right, top centers. Like we usually do, the position players will go by top pricing on FanDuel down to our value plays. Flynn has an article out which he mentioned his favorites. We'll mention our favorites as well, but we're going to start with the top price and then just go down that way. Right at the top, both 8,100 on FanDuel, John Tavares and Austin Matthews. Like we said, they're going to be super chalky, especially on a small slate. I slightly prefer Tavares over Matthews. That being said, I'm still going to have exposure to Matthews because on a small slate it'd be dumb not to. But Tavares has been much hotter lately. He's got at least 15 FanDuel points in 6 of his last 7 games, shooting a little bit more, and his line is actually the most producing line in the last 10 games and in the last 3 games. So I'm going to just continue to ride the hot hand with John Tavares.
In a stunning turn of events, we agree. That line scored 10 goals in the last 10, and 6 of them coming in the last 3.
For me,
a smash spot.
I do really like Matthews, but I feel like he's been it seems like he's turning into Tavares and waiting till 5 minutes left in the game to do something. And it's really frustrating. I mean, he's still one of the best guys in the league, and you need to get exposure to him on a small slate like this, but I'm going to have more Tavares than Matthews, and mainly his line mates, because I think Tavares' line mates are playing a lot better than Matthews' line mates, and that boosts the upside for Tavares.
Absolutely. Mitch Marner is absolutely the best winger on that team.
Sean Couturier, interest in him?
Definitely have some interest in him. I do like the way they set that top line up in Philly. But they're not going to be my highest exposed line, but I do like the way Couturier's been playing. I will have some exposure to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got at least 10 points in his last 5 games. At 7,500, he's starting to get a little bit up there, but I think that it can work. And if you pair him up with Giroux, I think it's pretty much all the scoring for Philly. And Lindblom is cheap too on the other wing. The thing with Couturier is his shots are kind of fluctuating all the time. It's 5 one game and then 2 the next, and he's definitely going to get you points. Is just how much is the question.
Yeah, exactly. On a slate like this, a very up and down player like Sean Couturier could pay off huge for you. But I'd rather stay in the same price range, or same price, and go with Kuznetsov.
I like Kuznetsov, but I hate his production lately. His shots are horrible, and the only time he's going to score fantasy points is if he assists on a Ovechkin goal. Which, I mean, Ovechkin could score 2 or 3 tonight, and it could happen. I just think that there are better options, especially at the better options that are cheaper, who shoot more and have higher floors.
Exactly. Most of my lineups are either going to be Tavares or Matthews, and then I'm going to go into that mid 6K range for the others.
You want to start off with the mid 6K range that you like here?
One guy I like a lot is William Karlsson. Absolutely love the matchup that Vegas' top line has tonight.
Yeah, in the last
go ahead.
3 games, Calgary's top line has allowed the most goals on the slate, 4 goals in 3 games, and the next one is Toronto too. So I think Calgary 1 is probably going to match up. I mean, if they match up with 1 or 2, it really doesn't matter because Vegas 1 and 2 theoretically are both top lines. Like both those lines have players who have played on top lines this season.
Oh, absolutely. Mark Stone's a top line forward on just about every other team in the league.
Yeah. Karlsson's been picking up lately, too. He's been getting a lot more assists, and his shots are slowly on the increase. I wish he was
about 13 points a game over his last 5.
I do wish he was a little bit cheaper, but hey, what are you going to do? It's a small slate.
Exactly. You got to take some chances.
Kind of like Elias Pettersson. He's always in play. This is going to be a fast game, so he's a little pricey, but back on the second line there with Besser and Nuevo, I think he has better upside than he had in the past. Ryan O'Reilly, if you're stacking up the Blues top line, that's it. I'm not touching him other than that. His floor, he's been playing horrible lately along with every other Blue. Chop, I think you got to do some talking because they really fall off after they were on fire for a couple weeks there.
They're the hottest team in the league for a while, and now they can't score at all. But I agree. Ryan O'Reilly put him in a stack with Shen and Tarasenko.
Yeah, that'd be the only way I use him too.
Or leave him off, use the 2 wingers, and maybe Alex Pietrangelo.
Yeah,
Get a little funky with your stacks on a slate like this.
Yeah, we'll get to Pietrangelo later in defense because I really like him too. There's no one. I don't really have interest in anyone else there. The next guy I'd go to is Paul Stastny. Like we said, we like Vegas 2 a lot, and he is the assist man, like he should be, centering some great wingers. And I think the wingers are just gonna up his game, and he's gonna be close to more like a point a game because I think he could average an assist per game for the rest of the season because his 2 wingers are just unreal.
No, absolutely. No, I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. But one guy I like a little more is Nick Backstrom. I like that whole line, actually.
Yeah, I forgot. I went right over Backstrom, yeah. Washington.
Scored 5 goals in the last 10. 3 of those goals have come in the last 3 games for that line. Nick Backstrom's one of the best passing centers in the league. And you have 2 relatively cheap wingers with Jake Verana and TJ Oshie. They should match up with Philly's top line, who's been kind of leaky lately. Especially now that Lindblom's on the top line, he seems to be the defensive hole for that team.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what Philly's going to do because their second line doesn't scare me at all. And I think they might try to keep Giroux with Ovechkin. I don't know. It's going to change. That whole game, they're going to change to see what works because Washington's going to score 5 or 6 goals.
Exactly. I was hearing a lot more Washington, too, until we saw those line changes. So now it'll be about 50-50 on Washington 1, Washington 2.
Moving down, we got no one else for me above 5K. Anyone for you?
Above 5K. Take a shot on Bo Horvat or Michael Backlund as one-offs, but neither of those guys are going to make much of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go down there, actually one of my favorite value centers that I don't think many people are actually going to use is Lars Eller for Washington. He's on their third line, I believe. Yeah, he centers their third line. But he's been playing really good lately, and he's only 4,300. 5 shots last game, 3 the game before that. He's getting a few more assists, and he's also scoring. So I think he's got upside for only 4,300.
For sure. Another guy that I'm looking at a little bit is William Nylander. He's definitely the lowest owned of the Toronto centers. There's going to be a ton of scoring in that game. And one thing I like doing in GPPs is find a lower-owned guy from a chalky offense.
Yeah,
That's what Nylander for me. He's going to slide right into that Nazem Kadri role. He's been averaging about 13 fantasy points a game on FanDuel over his last 5. Nothing spectacular, but he's not going to kill your lineup either.
Agreed. I like him a little bit too, especially now that he's not on that fourth line and he'll get a few extra minutes. He's been producing with his minutes lately, and like we said, we love Toronto. I actually really like Toronto's fourth line, but not their center. We'll get to them later. Any other center? You can move right on the wings.
Let's move on to wing.
All right, guys, you know what to do. Play Alex Ovechkin, 4-game slate. He's going to be one of my highest exposed wingers. He's playing against a Philly team who is going to allow a ton of goals, and we know Ovechkin can score 2 or 3 goals. Just have a lot of exposure to him because I know I'm going to.
Absolutely. Philly's 26th in goals allowed, last in shots allowed, and 27th in high danger chances allowed. That just screams Alex Ovechkin game to me.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a fast game. Yeah, I was listening to a Spit and Chicklets podcast this morning, and those guys always have me dying on my way to work. I try to listen to them at work too, and then I just start laughing uncontrollably for no reason and get a few looks. So I try not to. But yeah, they were saying Ovechkin's diet is absolutely horrible. Pounds Dr. Peppers on the bench and goes out and still scores goals. I don't know how he does it. But yeah,
say those crazy Russians, man.
Yeah, I mean you got to play him on this slate. So moving down, he's only won 9K or above. Tarasenko, if you're gonna stack the Blues, Johnny Gaudreau, I actually have a lot of interest in. I really like Calgary's top power play. Vegas penalty kill is one of the lowest. It's actually the second lowest on the slate. So if I have exposure to Calgary, which I will, it's going to be mainly with their power play line. And we forgot to mention Sean Monahan in the centers, and I have a little bit of interest in him too. He just hasn't really been doing that much lately, but we know how hot that line can get, and they could shoot you up the ranks too.
And if they do match up against Vegas' top line, then they've been giving up 6 goals over the last 10, so they're nothing special defensively.
Yeah, and if you want to save $200, you go right to Mark Stone. We mentioned him a lot. Vegas 1 and 2 is basically Vegas 1 and 1A because they're both top lines. And I think they're going to score a lot. And I really hope Dave Riddick is starting. But Smith went back to his Smith ways last game and let a few in. So that game is going to be probably the lowest owned, even though they're great offenses. But people hate playing the late game, the last game of the slate. I never understand it.
It's the opposite of the NBA. Everybody wants to stack up the late night hammer in NBA, and they just want to watch their lineups fall in NHL.
Yeah, I don't get it. Brock Besser, if you're stacking Vancouver's second line, but I'm not going to have too much exposure there. Love TJ Oshie. We've been talking about Washington too. Second most goals in the last 10 as a line. Second most in the last 3 as a line, and Oshie's been right in the middle of it. He's got a solid floor, 3 3 shots and a couple blocks usually, and he's been scoring lately. 3 goals in his last 5 and 2 assists against a Philly team who's probably going to allow, like we said, 5 or 6 goals today.
Absolutely. He's got 25 or more in 2 of the last 3 games. And like we mentioned, he's got Nick Backstrom passing to him. That's a great matchup for TJ Oshie. Jonathan Marchessault I like a lot.
Yeah, he's at like a really solid price too, where people are just gonna probably go to Lindholm at the same price, who I like if you're using Calgary's power play, or I think they'll probably just go up to Oshie or just way low and ignore the whole 6K range, which has some pretty good options.
Absolutely. We keep talking about Vegas's top line, and Marchessault's right there.
Yeah, pair him with Riley Smith, 5,800. I love Riley Smith tonight. He's going to be in all my Vegas stacks, and he's going to be in a lot of my one-offs. I think his floor is just really good for his price, and he'll normally go out there and give you at least 3 shots and opportunities to score and get assists every time he's on the ice.
Right above him at 6,200, Max Pacioretty. Probably only use him in a Vegas 2 stack because he's very all or nothing. He's either going to get you 20 or he's going to get you 2. But you want to have him with Stasny and Stone for those nights that he does go off.
Yeah, that's kind of that stack is actually, I think, more expensive than their top line. Or it's pretty close.
Riley Smith is not expensive enough.
No, he's not. Not for what he's doing.
Seems like he's been between 55 and 5,800 all year long.
Yeah, and when he's healthy, he rolls.
I hope this IR tag stays on Braden Shen, moving up through lock.
Yeah, definitely in a St. Louis stack. I don't know what to do with that game, but St. Louis wouldn't surprise me if they finally score 4 or 5 goals.
They've showed that they can do it, but I don't know what's been going on over the last 3 weeks or so. They couldn't miss the net a month ago, and now they can't seem to hit the net.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of happened when Shen started getting hurt. He got hurt February 19th. That was the last game he played, so he missed a couple weeks, and hopefully he provides a good spark to the Blues lineup.
I know our boy Chop would be happy.
Chop, don't play them, because if you do, then they're going to score nothing.
If Chop plays them, then Oppo, Chapo, and stack the Ducks.
Hey, at least we don't have my favorite guy, Sebastian Aho, on the slate tonight.
And your other favorite guy's hurt.
True.
Nazem Kadri.
Yeah, there we go. So hopefully all my bad juju is gone and doesn't come on to like Ovechkin or Tavares, which, who knows? It's freaking hockey. Anything's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. And especially on a slate this size.
I don't really have interest in Travis Konechny now that he was on the top line before, right? They flip-flopped him and Lindblom.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like who he's playing with. I wish at least he had JVR on his line, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. He has been good lately, but he'd be a one-off guy. I'm not stacking Philly's second line, that's for sure.
No. I didn't mind it when he was on the top line with with Giroux. But now that he's down to the third line, I don't think I want anything to do with him.
Mentioned JVR. He's actually been really good, so I don't know why they're moving him down to the third line, but decent price. I think I like the third line a little bit better than their second line, if Patrick plays.
He's listed as playing now, but like we mentioned at the top, he's still a game-time decision.
Seems like Matthew Tkachuk has finally found that he knows how to play hockey again. He's been shooting a lot more lately, 3-4 shots a game, getting power play goals, getting assists. I really like him, especially on the power play. Calgary power play top line is one of my favorite kind of contrarian stacks. I don't think a lot of people are going to use their specific power play unit. And he's been rolling, and Vegas, like I said, they got a pretty bad penalty kill.
Exactly. He's going to get good matchups when he's on the power play and 5-on-5 matched up against Vegas' top line.
Kasperi Kapanen, if you're stacking the Toronto second line, him and Anders Johnson, only in stacks. They kind of have no floor. But I think this game sets up really good for the both of them and really good for the second line because it's going to be so quick. So this might be the game that they blow up. Toronto's going to blow up this game against Vancouver.
Exactly. We've said it many times. Kapanen's game is speed. So these fast, wide-open type games, those are his best chances to blow up.
And people are going to think, oh, Vancouver, they don't play that fast. Well, they're young, and they're going to want to play fast. Like, they have guys who play fast. Like, having Pettersson, especially on that second line and on the power play, he's so fast, and he just makes everyone else play faster around him.
Yeah, right below him on FanDuel is Jakob Silfverberg. I don't like a ton of guys from the Ducks, but I have bet on the Silfverberg train. He's put up over 20 points in the last 2 games. He's a shooter, and that's what I like about him. He's going to get 2 to 3 shots a game, and he has 4 points in his last 2. So if Anaheim's putting up points, chances are at least part of it's coming off a Silfverberg stick.
Like it. Tom Wilson, only if you're stacking the first line of Washington. I don't really like him all that much. He does play better with Ovechkin, but he's just been so bad. Like, he's been like either 30, between 15 and 30 or 0. Like, there's nothing really in between. But matchup against Philly, stack him with his top line. Same price, just use Jacob Vrana if you want. He's been, I think, a little bit better. And like we mentioned, we really like Washington's second line.
And at the same price, I liked Jaden Schwartz a lot more about 2 hours ago when he was going to play on the top line. His production's been up and down recently. Showed an 8 to 10 point floor, but I don't think he's playable now that he's down on the third line.
Anyone else you're liking lower? Lindblom's in play if you're stacking Philly's top line.
Janssen in a stack, Hyman in a stack.
Yeah, I really
Josh Lever I like to finish off that Vancouver 2 stack.
I really like
He
Hyman.
can't hit a 20-point ceiling.
I really like Hyman tonight, actually. He's been picking it up lately. And that, like we said, the top line is just absolutely rolling.
At min salary, you can go with Robert Thomas from the Blues. Moved him up to the second line. Still getting top power play, ice time.
I think Vegas 3 might be a little sneaky with Tuck and Peary. They've been not really playing that good, but they're going to be lower owned. And heck, you never know. Sometimes those third line guys do all the scoring for a team.
Patrick Maroon, maybe in a stack. That's maybe.
I'm going back.
Philly's third line earlier. You can go with Ryan Hartman for 3,200.
I'm going back to Tyler Ennis. I know he's had a hat trick last game. And that hat trick was against Calgary, so Vegas, that's why we love them so much. I do like that his shot, he's been shooting more, and that's why I like him. Not just because he had the hat trick, because that's not going to happen again. But I think he has been shooting a little bit more, and Toronto's fourth line, they've been pretty good in the last 3 games, and I mean, that's all him. But he had 6 shots last game, so if he keeps shooting, I think the upside is there, and no one's going to own him again anyways. And in small slates, you just got to go crazy and stack a fourth line or a third line and hope they score a couple goals and shoot you up the standings.
Exactly. Before that hat trick, he'd been over 10 points in 3 of his previous 4 games, so he had been trending in the right direction.
Anyone else on the wing for you? You want to get to defense and then wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm scrolling through real quick. I don't think there's anything else down here. Maybe Carl Hagelin on Washington's third line if you want to put him with Lars Eller.
Don't mind it.
Certainly not an ideal play, but you got to get silly if you're making a whole bunch of lineups.
This isn't the NFL, but don't get silly in the millie. We get silly in the quarters.
Exactly.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, but hey, what can we do? All right, we'll go right to defense. Yeah, I mean, defense is an extremely small pool for me. This defense probably going to take like 3 minutes. I'll list off my 6 guys who are in my pool and let me know if you like them and disagree, agree, have any other guys you want to add. Morgan Riley, I like him. I prefer him over Mark Giordano. If you're playing Calgary power play, Giordano's in play. Alex Pietrangelo, Nate Schmidt, Theodore, Travis Sanheim, and Alexander Edler. Those are my guys. I'm probably going to live and die by them, and whatever happens, happens. I mean, those guys all have solid floors. They have good upside, and their matchups are probably the better ones on the slate, even though it's a small slate.
I'm not going to argue with any of those. Add Josh Manson and Colin Miller if you need some really cheap guys. Maybe a Colton Parayko. He showed a good floor, but hasn't been testing his ceiling lately. Alex Biega, maybe. But other than that, there's not a whole lot at defense.
I didn't realize
limited player pool.
I looked right over Colin Miller when I was looking last night and this morning, but holy crap, he's been at least 4 shots every single game. Yeah, you definitely adding him into my player pool, and 3,700, he's pretty much a steal down there.
Another guy not to overlook would be Ivan Provorov, if you want to get some more Philly exposure.
Yeah, Shane Gostisbehere. I prefer Provorov over Gostisbehere. He just has been playing better overall anyways.
Well, like you mentioned, Travis Sanheim's been playing better than both of them.
Yeah, just go for the savings and grab him. That's what I'm doing.
I don't think there's really a whole lot else down here.
You can play John Carlson in Washington stacks, but his floor has been horrible lately. I'd rather save money and go to Pietrangelo or save $1,400 and go to Nate Schmidt. Jake Muzzin. Muzzin's been picking it up, but it's because he's getting assists, so you don't really have a floor with Muzzin. 1 or 2 blocks and maybe a shot is his floor, but if he can get another couple assists, then not a bad play. I don't hate it in a Toronto stack.
Absolutely.
Cam Fowler starting to heat up again with the Ducks. I'm glad to see he's finally healthy, him and Corey Perry. About damn time. But
seriously.
He has a goal and an assist in his last 2 games. Extremely risky. No one's going to own him, though. If you're stacking the Ducks, getting a little crazy, go. I don't mind that at all. All right, anyone else on defense? I mean, my pool is really small on defense. I'm not.
Mine's the same size.
All right, we'll move on to our favorite stacks now. We mentioned them obviously throughout the whole entire podcast. Actually, you can start with you. What are your favorite stacks today, Flynn?
In no particular order, the top 3: Vegas 1, Washington 2, and Toronto 1.
Yep, I like all those. I'm gonna also add in obviously Washington 1. They shot up for me. Philly 1, I think, is in play. I really like them. Toronto 4, if you're getting crazy. Calgary, their top power play line, and Vegas's second line are the guys I'm going to have the most exposure to on the slate. I'm ready to get out of here. I got to edit this and get ready for work. Flynn, you got anything else for the listeners this afternoon?
I think that's going to do it. See you guys at the top.
Oh, breaking news. Ben Hutton for Vancouver. He's out tonight, so get him out of your defense player pool. said that he was questionable.
He wasn't in the black pool anyway.
Correct. All right, man. All right, guys, good luck tonight.
Riley Spooner is also out tonight, but that was expected. And nothing else in the late-breaking news.
All right, guys, I'll be in Slack about until 4 o'clock. That's when I go into work. And I'll be in chat here and there. If you guys want to sign up with the promo code NHL Podcast over at dfsarmy.com, save yourself 20%. Get in, get learning. MLB season right around the corner, so I'm extremely hyped for that. I'll be providing content both for MLB and NHL, so I'm going to be a busy guy once that starts. But join in. Don't forget to use the NHL Podcast promo code to save yourself 20% on your monthly membership.
Absolutely. Our NHL research station is worth its weight in gold, and we keep adding gems to it. Just added a stack finder, a stack calculator, excuse me. And this thing is best in the business, along with all the other tools and optimizers we offer.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, so for me and Flynn, we out.
Thank you for listening to the DFS Army podcast. Join the DFS Army today and gain access to our private Slack chat, where you can chat with real DFS pros and coaches, as well as other DFS Army members with winning track records. Also included in your membership is access to our premium articles, DFS Army weighted projections for every sport we offer, from NFL to MMA, weekly player picks and cheat sheets, the strategy vault of timeless concepts, and the DFS Army Domination Station, a truly state-of-the-art lineup optimizer, offering your personal projections or ours. The DFS Army membership is the best value across the industry. Join today and get 2 free ebooks, as well as the secrets to unlocking a new level to your game.